I memorized the entire Earth grammar manual, but when I asked a mother, what is its gender, about her newborn baby, she looked at me like I was a monster.
Yeah, you basically called her precious baby a toaster, Nova.
But according to Cambridge Grammar, an infant of unknown gender is an it. Why was she so deeply offended? Today, we are exposing the grammatically correct English that native speakers absolutely hate. I spent 3 Earth years mastering your textbooks. I honestly thought that perfect grammar guaranteed perfect communication.
The problem is, humans don't speak in textbooks. When you use it for a baby or even a pet, you strip away their personhood.
I see. To humans, it is strictly reserved for inanimate objects. By strictly following the written rules, I accidentally insulted a new mother by categorizing her offspring alongside rocks and household appliances. This reveals a terrifying gap in my linguistic programming. There is a silent variable that Earth textbooks completely ignore.
Empathy?
Exactly. Perfect grammar without human empathy makes you sound cold, robotic, or completely disconnected. If you want native English speakers to trust you, you have to know exactly when to break the rules. Let us analyze 3 testable examples where breaking textbook grammar is practically mandatory for survival. Example 1. The clunky binary. Listen to this perfectly grammatical sentence. When a customer arrives, he or she should take his or her receipt.
Oh, wow. That is incredibly painful to listen to. No native speaker would actually say that out loud.
But traditional grammar insists that customer is singular, requiring singular pronouns. Using they was historically considered plural.
Sure, maybe 100 years ago. But today, using they as a singular pronoun is the absolute standard. We say, when a customer arrives, they should take their receipt.
So, singular they is not just accepted, it is highly preferred. It is deeply empathetic because it is inclusive, natural, and does not sound like a legal contract.
Exactly. If you use he or she in casual conversation, native English speakers will think you are incredibly rigid and overly formal.
Example 2. The barrier of extreme formality. Imagine you are at a casual party and you find a lost phone. According to strict rules, I should ask, to whom does this cellular device belong?
If you say that at a party, people will slowly back away from you. It sounds arrogant.
Arrogant? But whom is the correct objective case? Why does correct grammar create a social barrier?
Because whom belongs in academic papers or formal emails, not casual speech. It feels like you are trying to prove how smart you are, which makes people uncomfortable.
Fascinating. So, to build a connection, I must intentionally use technically incorrect grammar.
Yep. Just say, who does this phone belong to? Or, whose phone is this? Ending sentences with prepositions is actually a sign of conversational warmth.
Example 3. The cowardice of the passive voice. When I broke your coffee mug, I said, "It has come to my attention that a mug was broken."
Yeah, and I was super annoyed. It sounded like a corporate press release dodging responsibility.
I was trying to soften the blow by removing the subject. But humans interpret this as a lack of accountability. Empathy requires active ownership. I broke your mug. I am sorry. This brings us to a massive misconception that language learners face. We assume that formal textbook English is the polite way to speak.
A lot of learners think using big words and complex grammar automatically shows respect.
But in reality, excessive formality often creates distance. When you speak like a 19th century aristocrat, native English speakers do not feel respected. They feel alienated, confused, and sometimes deeply judged by your stiffness. Let us contrast the wrong approach with the empathetic approach. If you accidentally bump into someone, textbook English might suggest, "I apologize for any inconvenience I may have caused."
Which sounds like an automated robot on a customer service hotline. A real human just says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry."
The textbook version is clinically accurate, but it lacks warmth. Warmth requires contractions, simpler vocabulary, and a genuine tone of voice. Another severe mistake is prioritizing correction over connection. When I first arrived on Earth, I corrected Dave every single time he used who instead of whom.
It was incredibly annoying. I almost stopped hanging out with you.
Empathy means letting small grammatical errors slide. If a native English speaker ends a sentence with a preposition, do not correct them. Communication is about sharing ideas and feelings, not passing a structural examination. To prevent future disasters, I have developed the Human Empathy Matrix. It has 3 simple rules for when to ignore your grammar textbook. Rule 1. Prioritize the person, not the pronoun.
That means ditching it for babies and pets, right?
Yes, if you don't know the gender of a baby or an animal, use the singular they. It grants them personhood and prevents angry mothers from glaring at you. Rule 2 of the Empathy Matrix. Prioritize connection over perfection.
Which basically means relax. Drop the whom, use contractions like I'm and don't, and speak how people actually speak.
Exactly. If perfect grammar makes the other person feel uncomfortable or inferior, then it is bad communication. The goal of language is mutual understanding, not demonstrating your superiority over the local earthlings. Keep your vocabulary accessible. Rule 3. Prioritize warmth over formality.
So no more passive voice when you make a mistake.
Correct. Do not say, mistakes were made. Own your actions with active, direct phrasing like, I made a mistake. Vulnerability is highly valued in human interaction. Being technically correct is far less important than showing that you care about the other person's feelings. Let us test your earthling empathy skills. I will give you a stiff, robotic sentence and you must make it natural.
Here is the first one. If a person calls, tell him or her that I am busy.
How would you fix this to sound like a polite, native English speaker? Pause the video and think. The answer? Replace him or her with them. If someone calls, tell them I'm busy. Excellent. Now for a second test, combining multiple rules. Imagine you see a stray dog.
The textbook says, to whom does this dog belong? What is its name?
That sounds awful. Fix it using the empathy matrix. Ready? You should say, whose dog is this? What's their name? We dropped whom, used contractions, and gave the dog a personal pronoun instead of calling it an object. By applying these rules, my interactions have drastically improved. Yesterday, I saw a human walking a small, unidentifiable, fluffy creature.
And instead of asking, what is its gender, you said,
I smiled and asked, oh, they are so cute. What's their name? The human smiled back, told me the dog's name was Waffles, and allowed me to pet them. No one looked at me like a monster. It was a complete success. Perfect grammar is a wonderful tool, but it is entirely useless if it destroys the human connection. Textbooks give you the structure of English, but native speakers give it a soul.
So learn the rules, but know exactly when to break them.
Exactly. Speak to human hearts, not just their dictionaries. For your next mission, I challenge you to catch yourself using overly formal language this week. End transmission. Go test the empathy matrix on a real human today. I'll be back later this week with more field research. Subscribe so you don't miss the debrief.